Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and I was always told I had a voice for radio, so today I'm going to be bringing you around from the Coventry Standard Format League Challenge in the UK. Now, because of various reasons, we're not going to give a whole bunch of shout-out to the organisers, etc. All we're going to say is that this is the standard format, Fates Collide is not yet legal, so we are talking X and Y to breakpoint. Standard format, 30 minutes, best of one. Grab yourselves a nice cold beverage and enjoy. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, couple of powerhouses in this particular round. On the left, we have got Luke Kirkham, and he is a very, very, very good player. We'll talk about him more as we go on. He is going to be playing a Mega Scizor deck, or Scizor, depending how you want to pronounce it. And on the right, we've got me, and the powerhouse in relation to me was, of course, said ironically. Luke is one of the top players in Europe at the moment. That is, I believe, certainly looking at his results, pretty much beyond debate. I am not. Well, no. I've not got the results to back it up this season, but hey-ho. I'm going to be playing Greninja, as you might have guessed, by the Froakie in the active. Now, not pictured is my Froakie hat, my Greninja mat sent in by a lovely listener to my podcast, PTCGRadio. I was using it throughout the tournament. It was only right. And my Froakie deck box. So Luke goes straight away. He starts with a Bunnelby, which is not his ideal active. He's got a Scizor on the bench, and he uses his Hooper's Scoundrel Ring to go ahead and search for a Shaymin and a Scizor. So already getting going quite nicely. Why would he not search for a 30X? Well, remember, this is going to leave him with only one bench space remaining, and let's not forget, one thing I should let you know is that Luke plays Garbodor in his list. Garbodor shuts off abilities. Greninja is somewhat reliant on abilities, shall we say, so it's in Luke's best interest to get a Garbodor out, so he needs to save a bench space for that. He could have grabbed a Mega Scizor, but let's face it, he's not in a position to evolve this turn. All it would mean is grabbing one less card with his Shaymin, which is not something he particularly wants to do. He wants to grab as many cards as he can. Now, you can see from his hand there, Luke has drawn an awful lot of Pokemon tools, which is far from ideal. And, of course, with his Garbodor, he is going to want to be attaching a tool, because Garbodor only blocks abilities when there is a tool attached. So Luke doesn't have the turn 1 energy attachment, and remember that Scizor really needs 2 energy to get going. So he has to go ahead and grab himself an AZ, use AZ to pick up Shaymin, pop it back down again, and then he does get the energy. Put Scizor into the active. It's a very good play, because Froakie's attack, Bubble, for a single energy, flip a coin, if heads, paralysis. Now, I've seen him use his AZ, and he's going to want to use his VS Seekers, the card that allowed you to reuse supporters, for things like Giovanni and Hex Maniac, as we are going to be describing as we go through this game. So he doesn't want to waste a VS Seeker getting that Bunnelby out the active. If I hit heads on Bubble, that paralysis could be huge. Now, as it goes with the Scizor, even if I hit a heads on paralysis with Scizor, he can evolve to Mega Scizor, and remember that an evolution gets rid of any special condition, so that would be incredibly helpful. So he uses Level Ball to get a Froakie, he uses a Professor's Letter to grab a Water Energy. I say he, I mean I. Don't like commentating my own games. I do try and avoid getting myself on stream where I can, but unfortunately, looking at interesting decks, good players, interesting matchups, etc., this is the best we can get. And make no mistake, this is on video because Luke's playing Scizor, not because I consider myself an exceptional player. Although I think I can hold my own. I've had a few good results here and there. Now, I'm not going for a second Water Energy here, because I've got a Sycamore in hand, and I don't want energy in the discard. Now, of course, I play Fisherman, the support card that allows me to drag 4 energy out of my discard into my hand, because you end up discarding a lot of energy and needing to reuse it with Greninja. But I don't want to discard one early game, and I would essentially be discarding it for the sake of it. Down comes a Professor's Letter, and I get a Dive Ball. Now, I've had some chat with Greninja players. The way I see it is like this. You've got 5 bench spaces. I'm not playing Octillery in this list. I am playing Jirachi, but the thing about Jirachi is that he gets rid of Special Energy and Luke's not playing Special Energy. So the way I see it, I've got 5 bench spaces. I'm going to want to evolve that active Froakie into a Frogadier. I'm then going to have 3 bench spaces, and 3, as long as none are prized, using Frogadier's Water Duplicates attack, I'm going to get 3 Frogadier on the bench. So I'm going to have a nice full bench. And then when they get knocked out, I'm playing 2 Sacred Ash, so I can reuse them all. And if I've got those Froakies already on the bench, then I can recover the Frogadiers with Sacred Ash, and while my first couple of Greninja Break are attacking, I can be building up my next few. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So I know I'm not going to evolve at least one of those Froakies, and I'm okay with that. Because what I am going to be doing is using Greninjas, getting knocked out, using Sacred Ash to put them back in, and then I've got a couple Froakies on the bench ready. Because that Froakie in the active is going to get KO'd next turn. Mega Scizor does 120 damage. So what I'm thinking here is that that's getting KO'd, so I'm going to put a water on the bench Froakie, so all I need is 1 Frogadier to do water duplicates next turn. That's Frogadier's attack I'll be using. Well, then that Frogadier is going to get KO'd by a Mega Scizor, probably the same one, in fact. So there's no point putting a Muscle Band on that, because Water Duplicates does no damage. So I'll put the Muscle Band on the other Froakie. It's going to be a few turns before he can even possibly be a Greninja, but you know what? I'm okay with that. I have no idea what I'm lamenting here. I'm just figuring out that he is going to get the KO, and of course, he is. Now, I should probably be playing a little faster in this game, because Frogadier is not a particularly fast deck, and it is sometimes a deck where you get rolling after 3 or 4 turns, and then it's a race against the clock to try and avoid a draw. So I probably should be playing, shall we say, a teensy bit faster here. Luke's going to take some nice early prizes, so he's all right here. Now, oh my goodness, and we see there, that is all 6 of Luke's tools. Now, he can only play Greninja, he can only play Garbodor if it's got a tool attached. So if he gets rid of, and he's got a Sycamore now, because he hasn't got an energy in hand, he's got 2 Sycamore, 1 Mega Scizor, 3 tools are free on the bench. So he's got to Sycamore. If he doesn't Sycamore, he doesn't get an attack this turn. And remember, I just need a few turns to set up. Luke needs the early pressure. He's got to use Professor Sycamore. Now, he Mega Evolves because he's got the Spirit Link. He doesn't end his turn. So he's got a Sycamore, but that gets rid of all of his tools, essentially locking him out of Garbodor for the game, which is just a bit silly, to be perfectly honest with you. So he pops a Spirit Link on the Shaman, he pops a Float Stone on the Hooper, plays a Sycamore, and he's actually just realised he'd rather have the 2 Float Stones down rather than Float Stone and a Spirit Link. It's a league challenge, ladies and gentlemen. I'm playing a good friend. If he really wants to change around those tools, I have no problem with it. As I've made clear on these videos, on these podcasts, I love this game. I enjoy playing it, recording, commentating. I just love everything about this game. I like to win. Of course I like to win. Who doesn't? But I would much rather just play a fun game against a friend than be worried about winning. Yes, I could have called him on it and stopped him attaching the Float Stone to Shaman, which is the better tool because it means he can put the Shaman active and retreat it. But who really cares? It's a league challenge. It really isn't important, and I'm not going to Worlds anyway. I don't need the points. Maybe if we were at, round 5, we're both 4-0 in a national championship, I'd care, but not here. So he gets a Lysander there. He's not going to use it this turn. He can't. He's already used a Sycamore, but we know it's coming out later on. Now there comes an Ultra Ball, and presumably here he's going to be going for a Mega Scizor. Now me and Luke had it. We were sitting together at the beginning of the tournament. He saw me borrow a Startling Megaphone from a lovely chap, Reese Williams. He saw me borrow it, so he knows I'm playing a Startling Megaphone, so his thought process is, look, while I've got the Spirit Link attached, I can Mega Evolve without ending my turn. If my opponent, that's me, if he gets his Startling Megaphone and gets rid of the Spirit Link, I have no more Spirit Links, so I will have to end the turn without attacking in order to get another Mega Scizor. And that is not something that I particularly want to do. So there we go. Now, let's get rid of a few cards there. I believe some Battle Compressor. And he does 120, KOs the Froakie. Now, I'm fine with this. I'm going to go 2 prizes down. It's what my deck does. He gets a KO on the Froakie. So, by the way, I never got a turn 1 Wally this tournament. The ideal is you go second, start Froakie, and then evolve. What I really wanted was a Wally last turn and an energy, but I didn't have it, so it's irrelevant. Now, I do have a Wally this turn, and that's very frustrating. Now, the question is, do I just go straight into Greninja and then try and build up my Pokemon on the bench? Or do I go ahead and just, use the water duplicates? Because what I could do here is I could Wally that Frogadier into a Greninja and then not use water duplicates, but then I'd have to build up all the Froakies on the bench, and that's going to be a bit slow. Now, I'm not actually Wallying for free Frogadiers. I'm going to use water duplicates, but I'm just putting it on the top of me deck. Why did I use a Wally? Because I didn't have a supporter I wanted to use. That gets Wally out of my hand. If I remember correctly, I'm holding 2 Wallies at this point, so it's not even like I'm going to need that Wally next turn. Potentially a little bit silly. I'm fine with that. What I'm basically thinking is, look, I've got an energy and there's already a muscle band on that Frogadier. I would rather use a supporter when I don't have a better one to use and get a Frogadier with an energy and a muscle band attached than not use that Wally because I'm going to get my Frogadiers out anyway and then just water duplicates. So what water duplicates does, it allows you to search for up to 3 Frogadier and just put them on your bench. So I could have just used that to get the 3rd Frogadier out, but like I said, using Wally and then water duplicates means that I've now got a Frogadier with an energy and a muscle band, whereas if I'd have just used water duplicates, then I'd have a Froakie with an energy and a muscle band and 3 Frogadier with nothing. I like this setup better, ladies and gentlemen. I really, really do. So Luke's going to want an energy here to start building up his second Mega Scizor, but he puts it on the Shaman. Why? Because he wants Garbodor to turn off my abilities. This matchup is quite good for Luke when he's getting rid of abilities, and quite bad for Luke when he's not. That's one of the reasons, I mean, not just for Greninja, but that's one of the reasons he's playing a Garbodor line in this particular deck. So he's out of tools. He's used all 6 tools. So he basically has one option at this stage of the game. He has to use Shaman to Sky Return, putting Shaman and all cards attached to it into his hand, which then puts a Floatstone into his hand, which he can then pop onto Garbodor to turn off my abilities. Yeah, it's convoluted, but you know what? If he wants a Garbodor, it's the only way. Now, I'm 2 prizes down, but you know what? Of course I'm 2 prizes down. Unless I hit the turn 1 Wally for water duplicates, I'm gonna be 2 prizes down. Although actually Luke doesn't get a turn 1 KO with this deck, so had I gone first I could only be 1 prize down, but I didn't go first, so who cares, quite frankly. It is entirely irrelevant. But had I gone first I could have given up only 1 prize before we get going. But it's not a huge deal with this Frogadier deck. You can give up prizes because you're trying to take prize after prize after prize. Now my decision there was Startling Megaphone or VS Seeker. Now you can see I'm trying to decide. This is a very casual game. It's a league challenge. Obviously, the high level tournament, high round, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd make a decision. And what I'm thinking is, right, Starling Megaphone will completely screw Luke over, get rid of all of his tools, guaranteed no Garbodor. But I've got 1 Wally in hand and nothing else. VS Seeker means that next turn I've got a Sycamore, but it means that I'm giving him turns with his tools. As it is, I'm trying to be a good boy, I'm trying to do things nicely, and now I'm thinking, do I Wally to get the guaranteed Greninja, or do I just Sycamore it away? And, well, you can see by the Sacred Ash, I'm going to play the Sycamore. Potentially a dodgy move, I can guarantee the Greninja, but then I don't get anything else. Or I can Sycamore here, and in this deck I play 2 Ultra Ball, I play 4 Dive Ball, I play 4 Greninja, so my chances of hitting a Greninja are fairly high. The other thing is that Greninja has 130 HP, which means that Luke cannot get the KO with Scizor's 120 damage attack. And there's no Muscle Band, of course, because he's playing the Spirit Link. You don't want the Muscle Band. So I get the Dive Ball, so there's the Greninja. That's the big worry. Had I played that Sycamore there and not drawn a Greninja, it would be pretty close to being game over. So I actually get 2. I get a Dive Ball and an Ultra Ball there. And I would imagine I'm going to go for 1 of each Greninja here. Now I'm playing a 3-1 split, 3 of the Breakpoint, 1 of the XY. And I think I'm about to discover that 2 of my Greninjas are prized. But, you know, these things happen. I can take some prizes anyway. No, I'm going to go for the break. So does that mean I've got a Greninja in hand? Because ideally here, I'd go for 2 Greninjas. But it might be that 2 are prized, and that's what's kind of holding me back for now. So I've got my Greninja, I've got my break. Obviously, I can't use the break this turn. You can only evolve once per turn. But it means I've got the break ready for that. Oh, you've got a little peek at my Froakie hat there. It is pictured now. Luke's got his Batman hat, which, let's be honest. We're watching Pokemon videos. Oh no, I had the Greninja in hand. Oh, that will be why I went for the break. Because I wanted 3 Greninjas. That would have been ideal. But I searched and I found my other 2 Breakpoint Greninjas prized. So I had to go for a break. Because that was essentially my only choice at this stage. So there we go. So, I'm having a look through Luke's discard. I'm trying to figure out his supporters at this stage. I'm trying to figure out in terms of Hex Maniac and all that good stuff. So, I'm using the big attack here. There's 2 reasons for this. I do 60 damage. If you return an energy to your hand, you do 80. Now, there's 2 reasons for this. Number 1, it means that you get to just do 80 damage rather than 60. Number 2, it puts an energy in my hand, and that means that I get to have an energy ready to go next turn. And there is Giovanni's scheme. It allows him to do an extra 20 damage. Now he ain't doing 120. Now he's doing 140. And this is a worrying time for me. I've got 2 Greninjas prized, and he's taken a KO here. So I'm down to my final Greninja. And it's not the one I want. The X and Y Greninja's got the brilliant ability whereby you discard an energy and put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. He sits on the bench, he uses the ability. And the reason I'm playing a 3-1 split of Greninja here is because I only want 1 on the bench all game and I never want to attack with him. So straight away I use the break, I discard an energy, and I go ahead and KO the Bunnelby on the bench. And the reason I KO the Bunnelby on the bench is because I want to take a prize. It's as simple as that. I need a prize. I want to try and grab that Greninja. I play an Evo Soda to get back the Frogadier. And then I use a VS Seeker to grab a Shauna. Now, obviously, I would have preferred a Sycamore in that situation. I can't remember. I'm just I had taken a prize there. I like to spread them out after a little while. I don't mind when they're bunched up early game, but halfway through the game, I like to spread them out so I can really easily see how many prizes I've got remaining. I didn't want to play the Shauna. I wanted to play a Sycamore. I forget exactly what I had in my hand, but whatever it was, I wasn't willing to discard it. Might have been a VS Seeker and a Greninja Break or something. So now I can get my things back, and this is my second and final Sacred Ash, but now I get my Breakpoint Greninja back, and I need my Breakpoint Greninja back. It allows me to shuffle 5 Pokemon from my discard back into my deck, and given that I have no Pokemon, no Greninjas in my deck, it needs to happen. Now, the other thing which I should point out here about that Greninja from X and Y, as well as doing less damage, it doesn't have free retreat. So what you want to be doing as an ideal with this Greninja deck is you use because the Break's ability can only be used in the active. So you use the Break's ability, discard a water energy, put 6 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon, retreat into another Break, and use the ability on the new Break. But that's not possible, unfortunately, so there we go. And Luke here is being an absolute gentleman. I've not played, this first time I played the Greninja deck, and like I say, I'm taking it tournament 2 casually. I just said, hang on a second, I can't do anything here. I haven't got any energy. And Luke said, no, you idiot. You can attack. You've got an energy. You've just covered it up with the Greninja Break. And he's absolutely right. Top man, Luke, because quite frankly, there's a lot of players out there who would have said, tee-hee-hee-hee-hee, my opponent's an idiot, he's got an energy, but he's passed the turn, it's my go now. Whereas Luke's saying, no mate, don't be an idiot, you've got an energy on there. Now, the debate we're having here is that Greninja X and Y's Mist Slash does 50 damage and is not affected by effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. The Stadium, Reverse Valley, means that all of your Pokemon, all your metal Pokemon, take 10 less damage from attacks. So what we're basically saying is that Stadium is it putting an effect on the Mega Scizor? If it is putting an effect on Mega Scizor, then it means I do 50 damage. If it is not putting an effect on Mega Scizor, then it means I do 40 damage. And I believe we've come to the right decision here, that it is putting an effect, so we do 50. Now, it's not going to make a big difference. I'm going to be trying to do... as it is, he's now on 150 damage, so he's got 70 remaining. So it doesn't really make a difference in the scheme of things. The maths doesn't add up. The 40 or 50 is irrelevant. But I wanted to get a ruling. It seems like the kind of thing I should know. And I know when we're on stream, people do tend to pick up the mistakes that we made. So I like to try and get it right. So Luke there plays a Hex Maniac, and I got my startling Megaphone. So Luke there plays a Hex Main, and I play an Ace Trainer. Luke's taken 2 prizes, I've taken 1. Because I'm behind on prizes, we both shuffle our hands into our decks. I draw 6, Luke draws 3. You only play it if you're behind on prizes. If you've taken fewer than your opponent. Not less, fewer. We need to use our language correctly, ladies and gentlemen. See? Not just teaching you Pokemon, teaching you language and learning and such. So here I need to get a Greninja and I need to get a couple of energy. Because I can't leave that Greninja break in the active. He gon' die. Or get KO'd if we want to be correct about this. And also, I can do a better attack with the bench Greninja. Now, as it stands, Luke's got, is that 68? Well, how much? He's on 150, so he's got 70 HP remaining. So I can do 80 with Breakpoint Greninja. That is something that I can do. So I search out the break here. Luke's not playing anything like Ace Trainer, and even if he did, the format as it is at the moment, your opponent, it's only really Judge that makes you shuffle your hand back in, and I know Luke's not playing Judge on red card, but I'm pretty sure Luke's not playing red card as well. So I feel, it's risky searching for a card a turn early, but I'm fairly sure there's no way Luke can make me shuffle my hand into my deck. So I don't mind searching for it now. And, like here, I use the... Oh, Fisherman is exactly the card I wanted. Because here's the deal. I search for... If I get the Greninja break out of my deck, that means there are fewer cards in my deck, which means my Trainer's Mail is more likely to actually go ahead and get me the card that I want, like a Fisherman. Maybe if Greninja Break had still been in my deck, that Fisherman wouldn't have been there from the Trainer's Mail. So I believe I did the right thing there, getting it a turn early. So I'm going to have to manually retreat. Now, I can't use the ability because I'm under Hex Lock. But here's the thing. I can KO his Mega Scizor. Now, it's going to be very difficult for Luke to get a KO on that Greninja next turn. It's absolutely possible, but it's going to be difficult. He is going to need an energy, a Mega Turbo to attach an energy from his discard to Mega Scizor, and he's then going to need Giovanni's Scheme, or in this case a VS Seeker, to get Giovanni's Scheme. So I get the KO, I'm now up by a prize rather than down by a prize, and at this stage we can see why Luke needs to get rid of abilities. I'm not doing enough damage here to win the game without my abilities. With the abilities, it makes a big difference. Luke needs to try and get rid of my abilities so that he can go ahead and just slow me down enough to really get rolling. So he's going to grab himself he's using a Battle Compressor. He gets rid of a Trubbish. Garbodor, the Garbodor ship has sailed. He has no more tools. He's already got a Trubbish on the bench. Now, he does play Skylar, which is why he plays that one level ball. I think that's an excellent little tech. Obviously, it's only the Bunnelby and the Trubbish that can be got with a level ball, but he's playing Skylar, so he puts one level ball in. And, of course, he's playing, Battle Compressor and VS Seeker. So, one Skylar, one level ball. It just means he's serious about going ahead and getting that Trubbish and that Garbodor out. It is unfortunate here that Luke has really been put on the back foot by drawing all 6 of his tools really early game. And that's been a big thing in this game. Now, if he finally draws the Garbodor, it's irrelevant. Honestly, it's worth evolving that Trubbish. Because as it is, If I use Greninjaaaaaaa's ability plus 1 break ability, I do 90 damage. If he's got a Trubbish out, it gets KO'd, 70 HP, whereas the Garbodor of 100 HP will survive 1 Greninja break ability and 1 Greninjaaaaaaa ability. But Luke needed it as discard fodder for the Ultra Ball. I don't know what else he had in his hand there. I would recommend evolving the Garbodor, especially because Luke knows for a fact I play no Lysander in my list. Again, this is a game played between two good friends at a league challenge who have chatted about their lists. This is not a kind of high-level decide who makes cut at nationals game. Doesn't mean we're not playing as well as we can, just means we're being a little bit casual. Now, Luke doesn't hit the Mega Turbo, but he plays a Shaman, which allowed from the Ultra Ball, which then allows him to draw into the Mega Turbo, but he had to use, I believe, a Sycamore, which means he doesn't get the KO, and that's huge. It means that my Greninja will not get KO'd, and now this gives me a chance. Now, unfortunately, it means that I'm probably going to have to give up a KO this turn, but it means I can do a huge amount of damage. Now, I've got that Fisherman to search for a whole bunch of energy, and the question is, what do I do? Now, clearly I'm going to want to KO a Shaman with 2 break abilities. But the question is, the Greninjaaaaaaa, do I put on the Trubbish or do I put on the Scizor? Now, there's 2 ways to think about this. If I put the 30 damage on the Trubbish, that means 1 Greninja break ability, and I am guaranteed the win. If I put it on the Scizor, it might make a difference in terms of the maths. So if I put the Greninjaaaaaaa ability on the Scizor, I bring him down to 190, which essentially means 2 break abilities and an attack from Breakpoint Greninja, which is 200, will get the KO. I might be in a situation where actually it makes a big difference. So I put it on the Trubbish. In hindsight, I don't think I should have done that. Because if I'm not ability locked, I'm going to be able to get 2 abilities off anyway. Either 2 breaks or a break and an XY. So to be perfectly honest, I think I probably should have put that damage on the active Scizor. And oh, there goes the Rough Sea, so I can heal 30 from each of my water Pokemon. Now, the question is, could I get the attack this turn? I don't think that I can. No, if I could get the attack, that would be the thing to do. So I've KO'd the Shaman, so that's a total of 150. Okay, so I've got the wrong Greninja active. And that's big. Had I had the Breakpoint Greninja, then what I could have done was put all 3 of those abilities on that Scizor, and then use Breakpoint Greninja's attack to put him up to 230 and get the KO. As it is, I'm not sure I've played this correctly. I don't think I needed to put that 30 on the Trubbish. Now I can sit here and go, well, if my 2 Breakpoint Greninja weren't prized, well, prizes happen. I had the wrong Greninja active, that means I was unable to get the KO. So this is essentially what we do. This is all we can do, and the fact is, this is what happened. Swings and roundabouts, nothing I can do. So Luke here essentially isn't going to win the game. He's not going to win the game. It's as simple as that. He can't afford to Lysander, because if he doesn't Hex, I'm going to win the game next turn. I've got 1 prize remaining. So essentially here, Luke isn't going to win the game. He's not going to take enough prizes. I can stop him taking enough prizes because of all my breaks and such. And if he ever tries to play a Lysander to take a prize, I'm just going to go nuts with my abilities. And I'm going to look through, and I'm going to find he's got 1 VS Seeker remaining. That is what I'm going to discover on this turn. So Luke isn't going to win this game. There's no way Luke's going to win. Sorry, Luke, if you're watching this. I don't mean to be rude. Luke isn't going to win the game. He's not going to take enough prizes. Now, time is... I don't know if you'll see it, but time is going to be called, I believe, on my turn here. So, the question is Luke going to Hex Maniac next turn? I need to take 1 KO, but I'm Hex Maniac locked. I cannot use abilities. Otherwise, that Trubbish will be KO'd and I'd win the game. Now, I know that Luke has got a 5-card deck and he's got a VS Seeker in the deck. Now, what I don't know is that Luke's also got a Trainer's Mail in hand. I found this out afterwards. So Luke is guaranteed to hit the VS Seeker next turn. Because he's going to draw a card, go down to 4 in deck. Trainer's Mail looks at the top 4 cards of his deck, which will be his entire deck. Luke will get the VS Seeker to Hex Maniac. I've got one more turn. And that means this. If I use... I need to get a KO. I've got one more turn. Now, if I had 2 more turns, guaranteed win, got the win, yay, go home, life is good. Because Luke can only Hex Maniac a maximum 1 more time. So if I've got 2 more turns after this, I am guaranteed to win the game. And I can just sit there and do, to be honest, whatever I like, and I'm guaranteed to win. Problem is, because even if Luke KO'd, because either Luke doesn't KO the Greninja, and he hexes, but then he can't hex again, or he does KO the Greninja with Giovanni's, but he doesn't hex, so I win. So if I've got 2 more turns, I am guaranteed to win the game. But I haven't got 2 more turns. I've got 1 more turn. And Luke can hex lock me for that turn. Now, had I put the damage on the active Scizor, he'd be up to 80. I could then attack here to put him up to 160. And either he doesn't KO, I get the win, or he does KO. Okay, I've got the break here. So, had I put the damage on the Scizor, I can just attack for 80, and then next turn, he's got to retreat and hex. To be fair, he could even do that. Now, this is going to be a silly game-ending play, ladies and gentlemen. I'm using an ace trainer. I've got 1 prize remaining. Luke has got 2 prizes remaining. I am not allowed to play this supporter, and this is what we call an irreparable game state. I had a 0-card hand, so it's easy. Luke, on the other hand, didn't. Now, just so we're clear, did Luke notice? No. Firstly, it's not up to Luke to tell me I'm being a moron. And secondly... you saw Luke point out that I had the energy attached when I was about to pass. Me and Luke are good friends. Luke would not do that. The fact is, ladies and gentlemen, I done a stupid. I did a very silly thing, and I'm going to get a game loss for it. And you know what? I should get a game loss for it. Now, as it stands, this game was going to be a draw. Now, here's the deal. If I'd had 2 more turns, I would not play Ace Trainer. I would just sit there and attack. Luke hexes me. Don't care. I win the following turn. But I only have 1 more turn. So my thought process is this. We are going to have a draw if Luke hits his VS Seeker. He's got a 5-card deck. If he hasn't got it in hand, I really like his chances of hitting that VS Seeker. And as I told you, he was guaranteed to hit the VS Seeker. He was going to hit it. Going to happen. Because he had a Trainer's Mail in hand. So I'm thinking... well, hang on a second. The only thing I can do is Ace Trainer him down to 3 cards in hand. Hope he doesn't hit the VS Seeker. If he doesn't, I win. Guaranteed. If he does, it's a draw. Guaranteed. And I suppose there's a lesson to be learned here. Why did I upload a video in which I make a stupid game-ending play? Because firstly, I think it's an interesting game. I think the back and forth was very fun here. I think we've had a good chat about the Pokemon trading card game. But also, the lesson to be learned here is don't get too single-minded. And that's the mistake I made. Now, this is the first time I've ever played a deck with Ace Trainer in, but that's not the reason I made the mistake. The reason I made the mistake is this. I knew for a fact, and there's the handshake, and I no bones about this, I don't mind. I lost the game fair and square. I was an idiot. No animosity. I deserved to lose that game. It was only going to be a draw anyway. Like I said, he had the Hex Maniac. But I got too narrow-minded, and that's how I lost the game. What I should have been thinking was, okay, what can I do here to win this game? What supporter should I play? Wait, I can't play Ace Trainer. What I was thinking was, you know what? He's got the VS Seeker. If he plays a VS Seeker, then I am 1 turn away from winning and it turns into a draw. I've got to stop him getting the VS Seeker. I know Ace Trainer, I'll put him down to 3 cards in hand. Stupid mistake. We've all done it, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're sitting there saying you've never done it, either you're lying or you've got it to look forward to. Now, you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Click that like button. I think it's been an interesting game. Game-ending play or not. I treat these videos as if it were a real live stream. So the games I record, they're the games you get, ladies and gentlemen. But I think this was a pretty good one. Click that subscribe button if you haven't and find a friend to subscribe on your behalf if you have. And feel free to pop something in the comments. Maybe something about Scizor, something about Greninja, or just call me an idiot. I mean, I'd rather you didn't, but hashtag we forgive you maybe. I don't know why I've started throwing out hashtags on these videos, but why not? Tell me you forgive me, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, the most important thing, look after yourselves till next time. I'll be back with a couple more videos from this little league challenge. It's going to be fun. As always, thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.